In our previous discussion, we have discussed that what type of data are, what are the different categories of data are, how to collect the data under the different sampling schemes, and then how to present the data in a diagram form, graphic form, tabular form. But those forms conveys very little information. But if we have to analyze the data, if we have to draw certain conclusion, then we have to jump to data characteristics under the heading of descriptive measures. So these are the descriptive measures which are used to quantify the data, what the data wants to say us. Presentation is okay. That is telling us the overall story. For example, if I'm seeing a fatty boy, how can I say fatty? Yes, it looks to me, I feel that his height is 5 feet and his width is a little bit more, so I can say fatty. And in place of the 5 feet, if let it be a 6 feet height is there, the same width, I will not say it is a fatty. So this is a presentation of the data. But actually, what is a fatty means? It is your BMI index. That is how much fat you are having it on your body. That shows us that is nothing but a descriptive measure. With the help of that, we can take certain decision. That is the importance of descriptive measures. There are four types of characteristics are central tendency, dispersion, skewness, and kurtosis. All these four characteristics are conveying us something different. It's not that every characteristic is having a different story behind that. Let's see what they are going to communicate with us. Now, central tendency, it gives the best representative of the data. That is where the concentration of data is maximum, or you can say central point or middle point of the data, where the maximum people are there. Maximum data is concentrated. That we can measure it by the technique of central tendency, and also known as measure of location. Next come to dispersion. Now this dispersion is telling us how much is the variability in the data, how the data is dispersed around its central value. That is, if it is not dispersed, if it is, all the data is one, that is the one thing. But if it is dispersed, then how much this dispersion is from its central value? What is the minimum value, maximum value, and how it is moving within the data? So that is telling us by the dispersion. That is scatterness in the data. Skewness. Skewness that tells us in which direction there is a more concentration. Is it a left side or central side or right side? So mostly data belongs to which category? Right side, left side, or centrally focus. So it is a skewness. And the kurtosis is that is telling us what is the peakness of the data. What is the highest value of the data? That I will show you with the example. That is what is this different characteristics are trying to convey us. There are various measures of central tendency are mathematical average and locational or positional averages. In mathematical averages, we are having arithmetic mean, mean or averages, geometric mean and harmonic mean. But in location or positional averages, there are two categories, partition values and mode. And these partition values are again four categories, median, quartiles, deciles and percentiles. So just see that through the location, how many we can find out how the data is behaving. First of all, arithmetic mean. It is commonly known as average, denoted by x bar. Length of observation are given by x1, x2, xn. So is nothing but the sum of all this value divided by sample size, that is small n. Now, if we calculate mean on the basis of sample, it is known as sample mean, and it is denoted by X bar. And if you are calculating mean on the basis of population, we know the difference between sample and population. At the time of survey, we have done it. So at that time, the population mean is that is called population mean if we are calculating for each and every value of the data, and is denoted by mu. Now, the formula is for unorganized or organized data. It is very simple. Sum of observation divided by number of observations. Sum of I is going from 1 to n, xi divided by n. So just see, that is let the noise level at 5 different locations on a stretcher given 67, 75, 54, 80 and 69 decibel. What is the average of this? What is the mean of this? Can you anybody tell me very quickly? Very simple. How quick you are in calculation? There is nobody, the Shakuntala Devi in this group. So here the mean comes out to be 69.
So 69.
Yeah, 69. Very correct. For discrete or ungrouped frequency distribution, the formula is given by x bar is equal to summation I is going to 1 to n xi fi and divided by capital N. Capital N is total frequencies and fi is the frequency related to that particular class. I am not doing any mathematics here because these all things are available in Excel, and if you want that I can share with you my Excel notes also. So you calculate mean, average, everything, all the statistical data you can calculate with that. So here we are only focused on the definition and its applications. Now advantage and disadvantage of mean. Advantages, it is easy to calculate and easy to understand, and disadvantages, we can only handle with the quantitative data. Qualitative data it will not. Advantages based on all observation, and disadvantages cannot be calculated for qualitative data. And advantages familiar to common man and rigidly defined. Everybody understands what is the average, what is the total. But disadvantages, it is affected by the outliers. That is the extreme values. Extreme values spoil the whole game. Advantages, you can use the further mathematical treatment or mathematical analysis, you can do it. But disadvantages cannot be calculated for frequency distribution with open and class intervals. With open and class interval, we can't do anything. Advantages, unique, there is only one answer, and very useful when we are comparing sets of data. I'll show you the example. Mode. This is another measure of central tendency. It is related with location and refers to the observation. That is how many times that observation is repeating itself. That is how many times it is occurring. And normally this we are using for the production purposes, for manufacturing purposes. For example, a shirt manufacturer. Now, which type of shirt, which size of shirt he should manufacture? This is a $1 billion questions. Because the clients are ranging from different size from 70 to 120. So which size of shirts he should prepare? Or he should prepare all the shirts of all the sizes, but not. But everybody knows as a human being, your size will fix after some years, after your age. Then your shirt size will remain same, more or less, till you start eating, overeating, become fatty. Only then your shirt size will change. Otherwise, it will remain same. But as a manufacturing purpose, it is very difficult. So, what the manufacturer has done it, he has collected the from the field data that which shirt size is more demand 80, 100, 85, 90, 100, 100, 90, 85, 70, 100, 105, 110 and 80. So it is very much clear that 100 centimeter shirt is in more demand in comparison to other size. So from this data, I can easily calculate that how many shirts I should prepare of size 100, How many shirts I should prepare size 100, 05 or 110? How much size shirts I should produce for the 90? It is a money. So it helps the manufacturer. So this number is known as mode, which is occurring maximum number of times. Now, if data may have two or more mode, that is also possible. That is, if no value is repeating, that mode does not exist. It is also possible. Let's take the data set 5, 6, 7, 5, 8, 9, 12, 14, 7, 11. 5 is repeating 2 times, 7 is repeating 2 times. So this data is known as bimodal data. Two modes are there, so two values are repeating itself. And similarly, it is a trimodal data. And if it is more modes are there, then you have to use another statistical technique. Then it may not be then the form of a different curves. Now, in this data, the second set of data 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 25, 31. No data is repeating itself, so it does not have any mode. Formula is for continuous frequency distribution, mode is equal to L plus H F1 minus F0 divided by 2 F1 minus F0 minus F2. L is the lower limit of the model class, H is the class width of the model class, F1 is the frequency of the model class, F0 is the frequency of preceding the model class, and F2 is the frequency of succeeding model class. And what is the model class? So model class is that class interval which is having the maximum frequency. But this formula will not work if there are two class intervals which have the same maximum frequency. Then this formula will not work. Advantages. Uh, Number one advantage is applicable for qualitative as well as quantitative data. You can compute it. It is not affected by extreme observation because centralmost value, number of values it is repeating. So whatever the extreme observation outliers are there, it is unaffected. Can be computed for distribution with open-end classes. So there is no impact of open-end classes where the mean it was there. You can also calculate by graphically. There is no mathematical formula to require it. Simply put in a graph and you can get it. Disadvantage is not based on all observation, not capable of further mathematical treatment, not necessarily unique, and not rigidly defined. These are the disadvantages of mode. Coming to median. So it is a that value which divides the whole observation to equal parts. It is a middlemost value. So first of all, data has to be arranged in ascending order or descending order. And then which one is the middlemost value which divides the whole data into equal parts is known as a median. Now, for ungrouped data, so first of all, arrange all the data into the ascending or descending order, and let there are odd numbers n. The median is central value, that is n plus 1 divided by 2. N plus 1 by 2 is observation. Observation, not the value, is a median. So that observation is the median. So number of observation even, then it is the average of two central most value. Because if data is not odd, it is an even data, then we have to take an average of the two central most values. Let's take this example that the time taken by the pedestrian crossing the roads are 10 seconds, 11 seconds, 9, 12, 8, 13 and 7. So our data set is 7. So first of all you arrange into ascending order. So we arrange 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So which value is total 7? So centermost value is 7 plus 1 divided by 2, that is 8 by 2, but it is a fourth observation. So fourth observation is 10. And similarly, if observations are in even number like this 78, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, then the median is average of the two values. That 10 plus 11, that is 10.5. So median for ungrouped frequency distribution. So for this type of data, first of all, we have to calculate less than cumulative frequency distributions. And once we calculate a cumulative frequency, then we have to also calculate the n by 2. Now find out that cumulative frequency which is just greater than n by 2. And then the corresponding value of the variable is of this cumulative frequency is median. This is for ungrouped frequency distribution. And for group frequency distribution, again calculate cumulative frequency, find n by 2. So find that cumulative frequency which is greater than n by 2. So median class wise, median is equal to L plus H by F multiplied by n by 2 minus C. So L is the lower limit of the median class, H is the magnitude of the median class, and F is the frequency of the median class. And C is the cumulative frequency of the class preceding the median class. So you know the median class. What is that? So this is formula we are using for group frequency distribution. Now what are the advantage and disadvantage of median? Now it is easy to calculate and understand. Can you calculate it for a distribution with open-end classes? You can do it very easily, no issue. Not affected by extreme observation. It is very useful when we are comparing sets of data. And median is less sensitive to outliers. So outlier is there or not, median is not affected much. Disadvantage, not as popular as mean. Number one, every value is not contributing in calculating median. That is another issue. And not capable of further mathematical treatment. That is, we cannot use it for further mathematical treatment. Just compare with this example among mean, median and mode. Now we have taken price of movie ticket in different cinema halls of two different cities. Cinema hall 1 to 11 in city 1, the ticket rates are 100, 200, 300, 300, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1100 or 5100. And city 2, there are only 10 cinema halls. So their tickets are 100, 200, 300, 400 up to 1000. So total of city 1 is 10,600 and total of city 2 is 5,500. So now we compare city 1 and city 2. The mean of city 1 is works out to be 963.6364 and city 2 is 550. So just see, that is it is not giving us the difference in mean is a very big in two cities. But why it is happening? Only due to this one outlier. This outlier 5100. This spoiled the whole game. So due to this outlier, there is a big difference in mean. Now we calculating the median. In the first case, it is a median is 600. In second case, CD2 is 550 because there are 10 observations. So we take the average of fifth and sixth observations, that is 550. So median is not affected by what you can say outliers. So median is almost same, you can say. And mode in the city 1 is 300. But mode, there is no mode for city 2 because no value is repeating itself. So this example gives us a comparison between mean, median and mode.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
When we go for the median of even numbers, so do we not arrange in ascending order to those
Yes,
numbers?
we have to arrange in the ascending order or descending order. That I already told you. For median
Of even numbers also now, like
Pardon?
odd number there was mentioned, but
What?
for even numbers also we will do that.
Yeah, even
right?
number we have to do that. For both number we have to do that. Odd and as well as even.
It
Because
was
only then we can
mentioned.
get the centermost values, two centermost values.
Right. ठीक है.
Now partition. The next step of median is that is we divide the data into 4 equal parts. That is known as quartiles. First quartile Q1, Q2 and Q3. So Q1 is divide the whole data into 25% to 75%. That is in Q1, 75% data is more than Q1 and 25% data less than Q1. And Q2 is nothing but median itself. it divide the whole data into 50-50%, and Q3 divide the data into 75% to 25% respectively. So this is known as lower quartile, middle quartile, that is median, or upper quartiles. So whole population we can divide into 4 equal parts. Similarly, we can divide into 10 equal parts, that is known as decile, that is 10%, 1 is to 10%, and 10 to, that is 90%. D2 is 20% and up to 80%. Like this, we can go on dividing into that. And similarly, percentiles. It divides the whole data into 100 equal parts. So that's how wherever we are going to use it, the different things we can use it for the purpose of, and why we require that. For example, you have to make a house allotment. So you should know how many houses you are having, and demand is very big. So at least you can say this much percentage of the people I can satisfy them. This much percent of the people I can give them a houses to them. That's how you can do that. Next comes to the geometric mean. It is a different type of central tendency. It is mostly related with the growth, rate of growth, population growth, and interest rate, etc. We are heavily using for index numbers. I don't know how many of you have an idea of index numbers. But the only problem is it can only be defined for a positive number. For business, for economics, and for biological application, the geometric mean is heavily used. Now for the two positive number x1, x2, geometric mean is under root of x1 into x2. And for n numbers, nth under root of x1, x2 up to xn. And for group frequency data, it is more complicated. Capital N is sum of frequency. The capital Nth root of x1 raised to power f1, x2 raised to power f2 multiplied by xn raised to power fn. It is a little bit complicated formula, and we have to use it by log table. By using the log table, we can solve this problem. In our time, we are not having that calculator, Excel, etc. So we used to do by using the log table to calculate that. Now, this we can also use for the purpose of election. Number of people can use it. Now, a manager, a campaign manager, wants to see is there any changes in the voter rate. Is the voter rate is changing or positive or negative? In which direction it is going? And so the candidate to whom he is doing the campaigning, he wants to compare with his opponent. So in the past 4 biennial election, he is trying to find out what is the change in the trend. And you know that now Prashant Kishore is one of the biggest men in India. He used to claim that he can make anybody a prime minister or a chief minister, because he knows that is a power of statistics. That is the power of big data analytics. And without statistics, you can't do that. Now, annual candidates polarities, that is thousands in 1996 to 2002 is calculated. Gross vote 4,000 thousands, 4,800, 4,940 and 4,890. So percentage changes at 12%, 7% and 2. And that's we calculated the gross rate. But we just see the percentage changes, the form of 112, 107, 102. The geometric means comes out to be 106.92221 if we are using this formula. But just see, when we compute the geometric mean, here we are finding the growth rate. Mind it. Arithmetic mean comes out to be 12 plus 7 plus 2 divided by 3, that is 7. That is 7% is the growth rate in the arithmetic mean. But geometric mean, when we calculate, it works out to be 6.92%. So here we have to use the geometric mean, not the arithmetic mean. And one can understand, you can just ask from any politician. 6.92 and 7 plays a very big role Just see from the last Lok Sabha election or assembly election, people lost their seat only by 100 votes, by 50 votes. It is not a joke. So that is 6.92 is telling us a real story of the growth of the number of voting towards that. Now what are the advantages and disadvantages of geometric mean? Advantages, it is calculated using all values of given data. That is the number one advantage. Further mathematical treatment we can apply, we can do it mathematical treatment further, and it is not much affected by sampling fluctuation. We have a different set of data coming by the different sample as we are doing it from the this voting pattern. It is not affected much. At disadvantages, if any data value is 0, it makes everything 0. If any observation is missing or with open-end class, then we cannot calculate it. But it is affected by extreme values. Naturally effects are there, so rate of growth will jump up to a big portion. So this is the disadvantage of geometric mean. Now coming to harmonic mean. It is a type of central tendency which we are using when small values are to be given very high weightage than the large value. So it is also used for those values where time factor is a variable like speed, rates, ratio. And while the act which you are performing remains constant. Just I am leaving it, especially the transport planners, especially in that ODP also exercise. I would like to see how many people are you are able to understand this. It is used for average rates. Normally harmonic mean we are using for those components where you can say a time is there. When bus is moving on a fixed distance, every day it is moving on a different speed. So how much time they are taking, how much average speed is there? So their average speed is to be calculated as a harmonic mean, not by arithmetic mean. So we are calculating, dividing the whole distance by total time. That is the harmonic mean of these three speeds. So wherever the time factor is there, wherever the speed factor is there, we have to use the harmonic mean. It is very useful when inverse relationship exists, because speed and time are inversely related. If you increase the speed, your time of journey will reduce. If you decrease the speed, your time of journey will increase. So in these cases you have to use the harmonic mean. So it is relevant when distance is fixed from trial to trial and time is a variable. But reverse is not true. In reverse case, when time is constant and distance varies, in that case you have to use arithmetic mean. Understand? Where we have to use arithmetic mean and where we have to use harmonic mean. When time is variable, in that case, now I will see that how many transport planners, even you after 2 years, who just go and check the thesis in your department. Nobody has used harmonic mean. I am fighting for last 40 years, but still people are not using it. And it is a mistake. And similarly in ODP exercises. So mean you have to mention in this manner. Formula is, if there are n observation x1, x2, xn, so harmonic mean is n by divided by sum of I is going 1 to n xi. For a group frequency distribution, it is frequencies being added and capital N comes, that is sum of frequencies. And xi is the midpoint of the class intervals. And fi is our corresponding frequency. Capital N is sum of frequencies. And what are the advantages and disadvantages of harmonic mean? Advantages, it is rigidly defined. Number 2, it is using all the observation. Number 3, it is most stable when it is desired to give greater weight to smaller observation and less to larger ones. It is a weighted means. Disadvantage, it is only a summary figure and may not be the actual item in this series. Very important. It is rarely used for group data. And when small data is to be given more weightage, then it is useful. So that way to decide that which data is to be given more weightage in our calculation. The relationship between mean, geometric mean and harmonic mean. Arithmetic mean is greater than geometric mean is greater than harmonic mean. And if all the observations are same, then all are equal. And for two positive number, arithmetic mean multiplied by harmonic mean is equal to square of geometric mean. Now we summarize. We know that nominal data, ordinal data, interval data and ratio data. You know that last time we have discussed this type of data. Now here the order of value is known. In nominal no, ordinal, interval, ratio yes. Frequencies distribution yes. For all the category of 4 data we can make a frequency distribution. Mean, we cannot calculate mean for nominal and ordinal, but for interval and ratio we can. Median, we cannot find out for nominal, but ordinal, interval and ratio, yes we can. Mode, we can calculate for all the 4 categories. Can quantify the difference between each value? In nominal and ordinal no, but interval, ratio yes. Can add or subtract values? In nominal, ordinal no, interval and ratio yes. Can multiply and divide values? Nominal, ordinal, interval no, but ratio yes. Has true 0, only ratio is having true 0 and none of the 3 is having true 0. Next come to trim mean. This is very important. Now trim mean is the mean of the data values left after trimming a specified percentage of smallest and largest data from the data set. What happens when we collect the data? Sometime, maybe due to your data collection error or maybe in a real life it happens that some data that appear that is very very small or that is very large in comparison to other data. So this data we call as an outlier data. If you remember the exercise when we are doing that presentation of the data, I show you that student exercise I have direct the studio marks versus class marks. So there I have shown you the outlier. So we remove that outliers and then we calculate the mean, that is known as trim means. For example, if we trim 10%, that is 10% observation we trimmed off. That is from the top and from the bottom 10%. Then we calculate the mean, that is known as trim mean at the 10%. So 10% data we have deducted, we have removed. Also in a Ropset statistics we are using it, heavily we are using it. And it can be because the mean is heavily influenced by the extreme values. Just see the case of movie tickets, where the one movie ticket is 5,100 and also 100 rupees. So it is affected by extreme values. It spoil our whole calculation, it spoil our whole game. So that's why we remove these tails, we remove this, trim the data. And measure of center that is more resistant than the mean but still sensitive to specific data values is the trim means. So removing those influential data which is influencing that mean and then calculate it does not mean that it is not being influenced by the other data also, specific data also. Next come to dispersion. Center tendency we have done it. Now dispersion tells us how much the variation or there is a uniformity in the data or not. Data is uniform or not. That we are calculating by virtue of dispersion. If data is highly dispersed, mind it, you are using and planning that data, it will be disaster for your exercise. So you have to be in a planning, data should be that data which have a less dispersion. So while we are calculating the dispersion, so it should have the following properties. One, it is very simple, it should be able to understand and easy to calculate. It should be easily defined and must take care of all the observations. It must remain unaffected by extreme values. These are the properties. Further, on measure of dispersion, mathematical operation should also be possible. It should remain unaffected by sampling fluctuation. That measure of dispersion we should use it. If all observations are same, that dispersion is zero. So there is no variability. So everything is uniform. So measure of dispersion can be referred in two forms: absolute measure and relative measure. So what are the different types of dispersions? In absolute measure, we are having a range, interquartile range, quartile deviation or semi-interquartile range, standard deviation or variance, mean deviation and Lorentz curve. And relative measure, coefficient of range, coefficient of quartile deviation, coefficient of variation and coefficient of mean deviations. Just see, what do you mean by absolute? Absolute measure dependent on the units of the variable which we are considering. But in relative measure, it is unit free. It is kilogram per or millimeter, centimeter. So in relative measure, there is no unit. But in absolute measure, units are always there: kilogram, liter, centimeter, meters, etc. So, but we compare then the two population. It is always be advisable go for relative measures, not by absolute measures. First of all, the range. This is a very simple method of measuring the dispersion. Maximum observation minus minimum observation. This is the absolute measure. And relative measure is coefficient of range. Maximum observation minus minimum observation divided by maximum observation plus minimum observation multiplied by 100. Now come to interquartile range. Now data is divided into 4 equal parts. That is Q1, median and Q3. So interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1. That is 50% of the data is lying in this region. So this is known as interquartile range, Q3 minus Q1. The largest value, the smallest value. So this is similarly for even data, this is for odd data. So we can calculate. So interquartile range, Q1 is Q1 minus 1.5 IQR, Q3 plus 1.5 into IQR, Q3 plus IQR. That will do it. What is that? Don't worry. Quartile deviation. And quartile deviation is also known as semi-interquartile range. That is Q3 minus Q1 divided by 2. And its relative measure is Q3 minus Q1 divided by Q3 plus Q1. Now coefficient of quartile deviation, you can calculate. This I have copied from internet, because I am not able to get one question where I can show you all the calculation of like this. Well, all the calculations are being done. Mind it, due to the shortage of time, I can't demonstrate you its power in a planning. For that I am very sorry, that is, I feel very bad. I am only revising you which you had done it earlier. But for the sake of that, in future, whenever you want to use it, you can contact me. I am ready to help you at any moment of time. My gates are open for you people, 24 hours. For continuous data, we have computed quartile deviation, interquartile range. Very simple. Now come to mean deviation or average deviation. Now it is very clear from the description that range and quartile deviation, both of them is not considering all the observations. That we have seen in range, maximum value, minimum value, not all the values are it is considering. So it is not telling us any composition of the data set, or not in position to study the distance between center values and the rest of the observation. That is the issue of range and quartile deviation, etc. So this problem up to some extent, we can calculate under the mean deviation or average deviation. The average deviation gives the average amount of scatterness around the average, ignoring the sign. Mind it, we ignore the sign, but scatterness around the central value. If the average is mean, that is the mean deviation. If it is the median, that is median deviation. And if it is a mode, that is known as mode deviation. So the formulas are, let x1, x2, xn are n observation, and m is the mean. The mean deviation given by, from the again group data, summation of modulus of x1, xi minus x bar divided by n. About median, mean is taken. About arithmetic mean, it is a group decay, frequencies are being there, and for group data, frequencies coming. So it is a modulus or absolute value, we are taking it, we are ignoring the sign. And coefficient of mean deviation is nothing but mean deviation divided by mean. Similarly, you can also calculate median deviation or mode deviation using the same type of formula in place of mean. So another example we are showing that find the mean deviation about the mean. So xi minus x bar. So why I have taken the example? Only to demonstrate the modulus you have to take it. Minus 3, 3, 3, 1 like. Total is 22. So 22 by 8, 2.75. There are 8 observations. Divide by this. So the formula is there. Another data is there. We can do that. Next come to root mean square deviation or standard deviation. This is one of the best one. So this is the best and most powerful measure of variability. It is denoted by sigma. It takes out all the shortcoming of previous method. Whatsoever we had done it previously. Range is not considering all the data. Median deviation is ignoring this sign, but will take care of everything. So it is based on all the observation as well as sign of deviation is also being considered. And further, sample fluctuation has a little effect on it in standard deviation, very little effect. So at the same time, extreme value also has very less effect as compared to other method of dispersion. It is one of the excellent measure for doing further mathematical operation. Mind it, most of the statistical application now move around the standard deviation. The standard deviation is calculated with respect to arithmetic mean, and while when it is calculated with any arbitrary value a, then is called calculated as root mean square deviation and denoted by small s. An application of standard deviation that is the most important. This is a Russian mathematician, Chepshy. He has obtained a theory. He has found out the frequency distribution curve. He calculated that 60% of the observation fall in the range of mean plus minus sigma. 95% of the observation fall in the range of mean plus 2 sigma, and 99% of the observation fall in the range of mean plus minus 3 sigma. And this is a very unique research which he has done it, and this gives the birth of testing of statistical hypothesis. So what hypothesis we are assuming it? That statistical we are testing it on this basis of this formula. Mind it, statisticians have developed all type of distribution. If in your future, if you obtain any type of distribution which is not being available in statistics book, you will get a Nobel Prize of mathematics, statistics. Because statisticians have already worked out all type of distribution what your people are handling it in your lifetime. And that data is telling us the story, and that we are very much sure how much data is lying within this range. So this formula we are using to find out the Z score or standard score. If your HOD, if any of your department HOD agrees, so I can take special classes for you people for statistical hypothesis, for testing how to develop a hypothesis and how to test it. This is a preliminary which on the syllabus which you have put it. But I love to teach you that part also. Maybe next semester you talk to your HOD, they can invite me. Variance. The square of standard deviation is called the variance, denoted by sigma square. It shows how far each number of the data set is from its mean. And with a zero variance, it means all data values are same. There is no difference between that. And these are different formulas for finding out the variance. For population data, population variance, this formula, population standard deviation, this formula, sample data, and for group data, frequency comes. So these are different formula. Now nobody is using it. Now your Excel guru is sufficient. Excel can calculate everything, all this for you. What are the advantages and disadvantages of this standard deviation? Advantages: it is rigidly defined. Number 2, it is based on all observation. Number 3, it does not ignore the algebraic sign of deviation, positive sign, negative, it is not ignored. Next, it is capable of further mathematical treatment, that is the most important. Next, it is not much affected by sampling fluctuation, that is very important. Disadvantages: we cannot use for qualitative data. It is usually affected due to extreme deviation. If there is extreme deviation is there, then nobody can help it. It is also being affected. The coefficient of variation. The absolute measure is standard deviation. It is not useful for computing the variability of two frequency distribution if they are measured in different units or with widely different means. In that case, we have to use coefficient of variation, and this is nothing but it is a relative measure. So relative measure, it is independent of that which unit which you are doing it. Although you are comparing kilogram with liters, but in relative you can do it, but in absolute you cannot. So for coefficient of variation is given by sigma by mu multiplied by 100%. For sample, S by x bar multiplied by 100%. So that's how we are computing the coefficient of variation. We do the example of this also, don't worry. Just see. The same data, cinema halls, movie halls. Because in your age, I am fond of movies. I used to see all the movies first day, first show or second show. That's the maximum. So I'm forced to take those examples which are related to movies. So these are just see the price of a movie ticket in two different countries. In India, 100 rupees, there are 10 cinema halls, 100, 200, 300, 300, 500 up to 1100. Total is 5500. And in America, it is in $1. The cinema hall rates are 2.1, 4, 6.3, 7.8, 10, 11.9, 14, and total is 110. So this is a difference. These are two data is using different units, rupees and dollar. Can we compare that? Yes, I believe that in your city also, in your state also, there are few cinema halls where in the last row on the top floor, it is a highly paid ticket, very high ticket, and there you are also getting snacks and tea, etc., and you have a very special chair. That chair will also do massage for you. Probably in your state it is some. In Delhi, yes, in Noida, Greater Noida, this type of cinema halls are available, where ticket rates are 10 times more than ordinary tickets. So now here we are comparing the two countries, country 1, country 2, not Delhi versus Noida. Now, In rupees, we calculate the mean, comes out to be 550 rupees. In dollars, 11 rupees. If anybody compare, if anybody will see, he will see yes, America is very cheap, only 11. Or India is very costly, movies are 550. But mostly people are ignoring the units. And variance, 96,500, and America 32.544. So we very nicely say, oh, just see, America is the best country where the variance or dispersion between the rate is very less. Or India, oh, very big variation, 96,500, such a big variation. And similarly, standard deviation 310.64, and a dollar it is 5.74. So all these three figures, that's what statistics also, you can say statistics can beautify any data. And if you just take the coefficient of variation, so in India it is 0.564, in US it is 0.5186. So we can proudly say there is not much difference between the variation between India and United States. Mostly almost same, 0.5, 0.5. Why should I say no? 0.564, 0.51, there is a very small figure in deviation. Why should I am against that? So mean variance and standard deviation is giving me wrong results, but variation is giving me a better result. So I can proudly say that in India we are also maintaining the rates. Now in a diagrammatic presentation of outliers. Last time we had done the graphical presentation, diagrammatic presentation, but for outliers we discussed, but we are not presented. We have to present the outlier in the form of 5 number summary. There is smallest value, largest value, first quartile Q1, median Q2, and third quartile. And then we make a type of a box plot. On the basis of 5 number summary, we create a box plot, and the central box spans the quartile. A line within the box, that is nothing but the median. And lines extended above and below are called whiskers. And they are at the distance of 1.5 interquartile range, interquartile. And outline sample may be additionally plotted outside the range. Just see. This is interquartile range. And these are the value, 5 values, minimum, maximum, medium, 25%. So any value which is less than here, or a value either here. Just see Q3, 1 plus 0.5 interquartile range, Q1 minus 1.5 interquartile range. So any values below this, any values above then, we can say these are the outliers. So values less than Q minus 1.5 and Q plus 1.5 IQR, we can declare it as IQR or outliers. So by using this box plot, you can declare this data we are ignoring it, and with the proof we are showing it. Something like this. Outliers, extreme values. The same thing is extreme values. We are giving this is the outlier, and this is our values. This is our outlier range. This data we are presenting it in the median minus 1.5 plus 1.5 minus 1.5 medians. So that's how we can present it in the form of box plot, the outliers. Now you can give us that why we are removing this data. If the box is closer to the bottom whisker, that is this one. Box is moving like this, lower or upper. If box is moving this, box is moving this, box is moving this, box is moving this. If box is closer to the bottom whisker, so data is positively skewed. If box is closer to top whisker, so we can say it is negatively skewed. So if box moves there, it is negatively skewed. If box moves here, so it is positively skewed. So it can also describe the distribution. We can also comment the shape as well as the presence of outlier. because the center of the distribution is clearly identified and given a value by the median, and the spread of the distribution we can see it. So the box plot, just see that some data is little bit higher than this data. So that shows the type of the curve, where the median is, where the center value is. So which type of data it is, normal curve, or it is sigma curve, or it is a exponential curve, which type of curve it will tell us. And we can also use the box plot for comparing the distribution of the data. Next to the shape of the data, we have measured the central tendency, we have done the dispersion. It is possible central tendency is same, it is possible dispersion is same, but the shape of the data is also communicating. And the shape of data is measured by two parameters, skewness and kurtosis. What is skewness? This is another type of characteristics. It helps us to measure the central tendency, measure dispersion, but when it fails, then skewness comes into the picture. Is nothing but a measure of asymmetry. How much of the asymmetry is there? That it is called as. So value of coefficient skewness can be both positive, it can also be negative. A dot plot or histogram can also convey us what is the skewness, what is the distribution of the data. So a distribution in which the values are equidistant from the center and equal frequencies is defined as symmetrical distribution, or a departure from symmetry is called asymmetrical distribution. So this you can say it is a negative direction, mode, median and mean. This is a normal distribution, no skewness, this is negatively skewed, and this is positively skewed. And Karp-Pearson coefficient of skewness, mean minus mode divided by sigma. There are different formulas are there for skewness. And if the mode is indeterminate, if mode is not here, if we are using here mode, if mode is not there, then what you will do? It will calculate by mean minus 3 median minus 2 means divided by sigma. And this is nothing but equal to 3 times mean minus median by sigma. So this is a formula for skewness. And you can also convert the above formula into quartiles. Q3 plus Q1 minus 2 times median divided by Q3 minus Q1. So if coefficient skewness is 0, so it is a symmetrical distribution. If it is greater than 0, it is positively skewed. If less than 0, it is negatively skewed. For symmetrical distribution, length of right tail and length of left tail is same. Mean median mode must be same and skewness will be 0. And for negatively skewed, mode is here, median is here, mean is here. So it is moving like this. So if the data is negatively skewed, so frequency curve has a longer tail on the left side and length of right tail is less than length of left tail, and mean is less than median and less than mode, and skewness is less than 0. And similarly for positively skewed curve, length of right tail is greater than length of left tail, and mean is less than median and which is less than mode, and SQ is positive. Next come to kurtosis. It measures the central tendency we have done. We also done dispersion. We also done the skewness. It happens when everything is same. Just see in this data. Everything is same. Central tendency is same. Just see. Dispersion is same. Skewness is also same. Right tail is equal to left tail. But still there is a difference between these three curves. So this diagram shows us the importance of kurtosis, that is the peakness of the data or flatness of the data. That is, if value of variables are highly concentrated around the mode, then the peak of curve becomes relatively very high, or as a higher peak than the normal distribution, then it is known as a leptokuretic type of a curve, leptokuretic type of a data. And if it is lower than that, that is value of variable have low concentration around the mode, and the peak of the curve is a little bit flat curve or lower peak, It is known as platykurtic type of curve or platykurtic type of data. And for the normal distribution, for the normal data, which is neither P nor flat, is known as mesokurtic data. That's how these four characteristics just see that differentiate the data. Now this four characteristics tells us everything about the data. This everything is same, but only the peakness is there. So only this four characteristics: average, central tendency, dispersion, skewness, and kurtosis tells the whole story of your data. And coefficient of kurtosis, if it is greater than 3, it is leptokurtic, equal to 3, mesokurtic, and less than 3, platykurtic. And calculated by beta 2, mu 4 by mu 2 square, and kurtosis for sample data B2 M4 divided by M2 square. There is nothing but mu 4 or mu 2 is variance V2 squares, and mu 4 is the fourth level of the deviation. And for population, this formula you can also use, and for sample, S square is being used. Another measure of kurtosis is you can calculate from the percentile, quartile deviation divided by P90 minus P10. This can also be calculated. So what are the appropriate measures which we are using it? Type of variables, if it is a nominal, then best measure is mode, which we should use it. If it is ordinal, then best measure is median, which you should use. If it is a continuous, not skewed one, then you should use mean. If it is a continuous variable but is skewed, then you should use median. About this will tell us what the data is saying to us. This is a formula for communication. Now level of measurement and descriptive analysis, which is possible. For nominal, you can draw a frequency table, count it, percentages, validate it, cumulative percentage you can find out, mode you can find out, but dispersion we cannot find out. But ordinal, counting we can do, percentage we can do, validate we can do, cumulative percentage we can do, and central tendency, mode, median, both we can find out. But at dispersion, nothing. But interval or ratio, we can do everything. That is central tendency, mode, median, mean, and dispersion, range, standard deviation, variance, everything we can calculate. So that's all about our today discussion. That is how the different set of data, how the data about the graphical presentation, tabular presentation, diagrammatic presentation. Now there's different characteristics. We can smell what the data is telling to us. So by this I will just conclude my discussion, and thank you very much for listening to me.